When you have a history of greatness, the real challenge starts after the finish line.
Oh, I can taste triumph with the heart of a lion.
When victory alone isn't enough, you chase something greater, no matter how difficult the path. On the dirt, in the sand, and beyond. The new 2024 Ridgeline Passport and Pilot, part of our most rugged trail sport lineup yet. From Honda.
And welcome back, everyone, to Bayou Time. I'm Lonnie Thibodeau, happy to be subbing tonight on the program. And tonight we have a guest who's just got the greatest story. And for those of you who follow Bayou Time a lot, will recall, I think back in September, they had Chip Autin, who is our guest tonight, on the program. And this is Chip sitting with me right now. Let me tell you real quickly what this gentleman just did. He just ran 432 miles. This is him 1 week ago today, early in the morning, 1 week ago today, him completing his 432-mile run in Grand Isle. He started way up in Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas border, basically, and ran all the way down the state. And he's about to tell us his story, and this is the triumphant conclusion. I think I'd be tired too in kneeling down, Chip, as I see you doing that right now. But Chip, first of all, it is great to have you with us. Chip and I have something in common. We're both proud HL Bourgeois graduates. We were a number of years apart. Chip is a Houma native. You broke a record, and we'll get more into the record aspect of it and the athletic achievement aspect of it a little bit later in the segment. But let's start from the very beginning. You, young man in our area, your dad, fancies the idea that you're going to be an athlete. So for him to speed things up for you a little bit, literally, to speed things up for you, he kind of gets you into running. But take us through that story real quick of how that happened.
Absolutely. So first, I just want to say, Lonnie, thank y'all for having me back on to talk about the FKT and the run across Louisiana. To get back to that, so basically what happened was I played sports throughout my youth, and my dad was an integral part. He coached me through a lot of my sports. But when I got into high school, I made the high school soccer team, and basically my sophomore year, when I was second string, third string, and so when they would put me in, I could maybe run 5 minutes on the field, and I was maybe 10 minutes at the most, if that, and I was screaming for my coach to pull me out. So. My dad recognized that, and the summer going into my junior year, my dad went to the cross-country coach and during a booster meeting and promised him that I would join cross-country, and then came into the house and told me what he had done. I wasn't thrilled about it because I absolutely had no desire to be a runner, and just the thought of running 3 miles for cross-country was something I definitely did not want to do. We went back and forth, and we had our words together about it. But, my dad was the type of guy, he was like, you're in my house, and I made a promise. And so this is what you're going to do. And so I went into it kicking and screaming. I hated every moment of it. I gave as little effort as I could that year. And my junior year rolled around, though, and one of the starters had got taken off the team. And I was put into his position as a starter, and I could run the entire game. And it was during that I realized, wow, everything I did during the cross country season was benefiting me in soccer. So I went back into it my senior year, and I took it a little more serious and started actually putting in some work, and ended up making state as an alternate that year. So
wow.
Yeah.
Now, in the 3 minutes that we have before we go to our next commercial break is the fact that we're about to summarize in the next 3 minutes what happened in the next few years of your life that led to the great achievement and the record that we're about to talk about. But the next few years of your life after high school were not good.
No.
And if there is some God-given way that providentially he could come down right now and help us be able to, for you in that short amount of time, to tell people the hard times you fell on and then what led your way out. Why don't you take us through that difficult period?
So, I mean, it actually started kind of in high school. You know, when I was a senior, I had turned 18, so I could legally go out and I could go to clubs and bars. And then that's when I first started trying drugs. And it started off as a weekend kind of warrior type deal where I was just doing on the weekends here and there. Then as the years progressed throughout my 20s, it just became more and more, and then I was introduced to meth. I don't remember the year it was, but I had always been kind of against it. But I was in a car coming back from a rave in New Orleans, and some people had it, and it was presented to me, and I decided to give it a try, and that was it. I loved it, and then it just escalated worse from there. And then my late 20s, early 30s, I just became a full-blown addict. I was in the music industry, and I was trying to build a business in there. And I felt in order to have an edge on my competition, the later I could stay awake and make deals later at night, the better edge I had. So I used meth as a tool to be able to allow me to make that happen. And then it just escalated into a full-blown addiction.
That is this. For someone, even me, knowing your story, but hearing it out of your mouth for the first time is just, as people I know who are watching this right now, you just hear what you just heard. And then amazingly enough, because God is who God is and gives people second chances, your second chance is what we're going to talk about in the next segment after the break. The story is absolutely remarkable of the record that you just did. I can't even begin to even comprehend the training, the effort, physically, mentally, spiritually, everything that you had to go through. I mean, it's just incredible. So again, you see him running. This is the 432-mile journey that Chip was just on. So right when we come back from the break, right off the bat, we're going to talk about what led him to do that, what you just saw in what, 6 days?
6 days, 6 days, 22 hours, and 23 minutes.
Absolutely unbelievable. We know a marathon is 26 miles.
26.2.
Incredible. Yep. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll have more with Chip Autin, his amazing story, right after the break.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
And welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Lonnie Thibodeau. We have with us Chip Autin from Houma and his amazing story of his record-breaking 432-mile run that he just did in a little over 6 days, all the way the length of LA1 from way up at the top of the state, almost to the Arkansas and Texas border, all the way down the Granite. That's it. There's the graphic right there to show you. Can you imagine in 6 days running that red line? This gentleman sitting with me just did it. And before the break, you told us the incredible story of the early days of your life in the music business, turning to drugs, and then all of a sudden, one day you make the decision, I'm done.
Yes.
You're cold turkey. And I know we unfortunately don't have a tremendous amount of time, but that decision, and then the decision to recommit yourself physically as well as spiritually and every other way, how did it ultimately lead to what you just did last week?
So to kind of summarize it, basically, God will use some tough events in your life to kind of show you some things. And basically, a good friend of mine had died of an overdose. She unfortunately she's now my ex-wife, but the girl I was seeing at the time, I was helping raise her kids, and I'd fallen in love with them, and she left me and took the kids, and my car got impounded, and I came to the realization, that I was actually laying in a bed with a shotgun, wanting to take my life, and I realized I was living in a tool shed behind my parents' house, and so things kind of just came together then that I realized I needed to make a change, and I went out though. I did meth one more time, and I had a rough experience, and I just had this conversation with myself, and to make a long story short, I decided within that conversation that I was done, and that I didn't want to live this life anymore, and so I I took my drugs, I threw them out, and that was it. I just started to self-rehabilitate on my own, and I just committed. I made an unwavering commitment to myself, and I was just that I wasn't ever going to do it again.
And of course, you had the background in running, so obviously at some point you recommit to running.
Yep.
And so there's so many amazing aspects to your story, but then you take that recommitment to running.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, how does one day you go, I think I'm going to run 432 miles in less than a week? How does someone come up with that incredible decision?
Yep. So my dad got ill when I was trying to make amends with him, and he ended up with brain cancer, and that's when I decided to get back into running in 2015 because I had watched him in and out of hospitals for a while. So in 2015, I started running again, and then I've had some accomplishments throughout the years with that. The idea to run to run across Louisiana and go for the FKT came about. So I was about to run my second 100-miler, and I usually try to think about what I'm going to do next whenever I'm getting close to another event. As that event approached, I started thinking about what I was going to do the following year, and I realized that my 10 years of sobriety from meth was coming up was going to be in December of the next year. So I had shelved the Highway 1 idea. Years ago, me and some friends had talked about doing another event, and the highway had kind of came up, and I saw that it was the longest highway, so I had routed it out and I had it shelved. Well, I started thinking, what could I do that would be something big for my 10 years of sobriety, and then that came back, and so talked to some friends who I wouldn't have done this without, who had been there for me. They were on my crew, and they were people who had been there for me for a lot of my big races, and I went to them and told them I had this crazy idea and asked them if they were on board, and they said, yeah, when did we start? And that's when I knew, and so that was October of last year, and so did my second 100-mile race, and then took some time off, and at the beginning of the year I began training.
So basically a little bit over 6 days it took you to do what you finished up a week ago today. Again, I'm not doing the math. Yeah. I'm going to let you do it. So basically, you average how many miles a day on that run?
Roughly 62 miles a day.
I can't even begin to comprehend that. There's so much in your story, Chip. I think a lot of other people, as they're watching you run right now on the screen, can't even begin to comprehend. We know what a marathon is. Yeah. That's double a marathon. You're essentially running 2 marathons in a day for a solid week. I mean, I would think a Chip Autin 11 years ago would have said, that's crazy stuff.
Probably.
Who would want to do that?
I would have, yes.
I mean, so the key thing is, and we got a little bit over a minute left, and I want to make sure. Okay, and we're gonna have one other segment. Okay, so we're gonna talk about this more in the last segment. But in the minute we have left in this one, physically. So you're a week later, and when you walked into the studio, I was purposely watching how you walked to see if you were limping or whatever. And you walk fine, you look fine, but your feet, your ankles, you're like, how are you doing right now 1 week after?
So yeah, I was trying to walk as best as I could, but I struggled with some severe ankle pain towards the latter days of the run that I really just had to dig deep and push through. And ultimately, what I've been diagnosed with through my physical therapist is I have a true case of Achilles tendonitis. So it's a bit of a recovery process now, trying to get through that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I saw you had issues with hives.
They're still there a little bit. They are starting to settle down. Had extreme bloating, which we still don't know what it came from, but that has died down a little bit as well now, finally.
Oh, unbelievable. I mean, it's just a remarkable story. And I think, and this is the part I think we really, really want to talk about in the last segment is, the inspiration. Inspiration you are to yourself, the fact that you pulled yourself out, but of what you were in, but the inspiration is just amazing. So we'll talk about in the final segment again, Chip Autin, who just broke a record 432-mile run in a little over 6 days, the entire length of the state. Incredible story. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with the conclusion of that story right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barca Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
All right, welcome back to Bayou Time, our third and final segment with Chip Autin, who Houma native, Houma resident, who just completed his 432-mile record-breaking. You see the end. This was a week ago today, early in the morning in Grand Isle, as he had just ran from the very top of the state up near that Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas border, and in a little over 6 days ran that entire length of the state of Louisiana to break a record, and this is him wrapping up in Grand Isle. So in the last few minutes of this last segment, as we have time, Chip, is the incredible transformation story of your life and everything. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
I'm 41.
41. Mm-hmm. You're a young looking 41. You know, and I guess maybe if I go run 432 miles a week, I look younger too. Maybe all the gray hair will go away. But now that you've completed what you've done, couple obvious questions. One is the hard one. What's next? I mean, as soon as you wrap up in Grand Isle, is your mind now turning to, oh, there's a record someone once suggested? Do you seriously, do you have something else maybe in mind?
I have a couple things in mind. I haven't fully committed to either of these ideas yet. And I was hesitant about maybe coming out publicly with them, but
you don't have to now.
No, I will, because it's another article is gonna put them out there. So okay. So one of the things I thought about maybe going back to my roots and starting off with some trail running and just going back into the mountains and running trails. But there's another one that's been on my mind that I haven't been able to shake, but the first thing I need to focus on is recovering and making sure my body's back to normal. And once these next couple of months go by and things kind of clear up, I'm going to take a really hard consideration into this. It's something I would have to dedicate the rest of my athletic life to, or career to. Is I've thought about trying to run the longest highway in every state. But not trying to do an FKT or get a fastest known time. Just going out and maybe 30 miles, 40 miles a day or something. Not like trying to push 60, 70 miles, and just taking my time and enjoying it, and just going out there trying to continue to raise awareness for those suffering and recovering through drug addiction and mental illness, and that's. Just trying to build off of that and just do what I can throughout the country and just take it to another level. So that's something I'm considering. But like I said, it's all going to depend on how I really recover from this right now. I don't know if there's going to be any kind of long-term implications from this or not. So it's something that I do feel passionate about. But at the same time, where I started at, which was on the trails and in the mountains, is something that's also passionate for me as well. So maybe trying to figure out how to do both and how to incorporate them both, and just. But I feel like if I did try to go and do every state, it would probably take me the next 15 years of my life or so to do. Yeah.
I love how you just said a couple minutes ago that if I do it again, I wouldn't want to push it. Do an easy 40-something miles a day. And I think me too. I said, you know what? That's an easy day. I think I'll only run 40 miles a day instead of 60. So in the 3 minutes we have to wrap up, one very important thing, the incredible transformation of your life. And if you think back to, 12 years ago or whatever, sitting in the tool shed behind your parents' house, drugging. Yeah. Today you're a role model. You're an inspiration to people. For people who don't know your story until they watch this right now, kind of like me. I didn't really truly know your story till the 24 hours before we did this interview. Dude, I see you tearing up right now, and I'm starting to do it too. Dude, you're amazing. And to say that you're from my hometown, you graduated from my high school, you're amazing. And take this couple minutes to look out there and let people know, young people who are maybe dealing with the same kind of things you dealt with, Chip, that nothing is impossible with God. Nothing is. Yep. And how they can break free from whatever they're dealing with.
I told a lot of people this. I almost never shared this because I didn't think people would care. Like I just thought people might think I'm doing this trying to chase after some clout or something like that.
Right.
And it immediately gained a bunch of attention. And still, even throughout it, as time went on, before it happened, I still didn't think even anybody would care once it happened. And then all of a sudden, you know, I teamed up with Sarah, and I had kind of lost a little bit of my faith a little bit, and throughout the time, and to keep it summarized, when I teamed up with Sarah, I started feeling that presence come back, and we dealt with some things during training that started making me realize God's presence again. And then during the run, God was there. I feel like the pain in my ankles and everything that happened wasn't a bad thing. I didn't feel like it was like the devil trying to stop me or Satan or anything. I felt like it was God letting me know he was with me. So to all the young people out there that, you know, look, or just, it doesn't even have to be young people, just anybody out there suffering through addiction or in recovery right now and feel like that they won't ever amount to anything, or they're stuck and they feel like they don't have a purpose and they're just going to be some junkie the rest of their life. That's what they're going to be looked at. Look, you have a purpose in this life, and you're worthy of a great life. You're worthy of this life that you have, that you imagine for yourself. It doesn't have to become an imagination anymore. You can make it a reality. And I'm telling you, if you commit your life to God and you commit to yourself that you're worthy of this extraordinary life, I promise you, you can go out and be the ripple in others' lives, and you can impact and influence them, and you can make a difference in this world. What you're going through right now is not a burden. It's not a bad thing. It's just a stepping stone to something that's going to be even greater for your life.
Chip Autin has been our guest, and this story has been incredible. I mean, and I've done a lot of television in 40 years, did thousands and thousands and thousands of interviews, literally. And Chip, your story is right up there in the top handful of stories I've ever done. I mean, what an incredible story you have. And I don't want to oversell it, and some people maybe think I am, but trust me, you need to meet this young man and see it and hear it yourself. Well, Chip, good luck to you. Certainly stay in touch. Let us know what's next.
Absolutely.
If you want to do an even, easier day, maybe you're only going to run 30 miles, give me a holler. Maybe I'll go tag along behind you in my car, but we'll do that. But Chip Autin has been our guest. Has completed his 432-mile FKT journey across the state, which, again, fastest known time as you ran across the state of Louisiana. Congratulations to him. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Bayou Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.